Shericka Jackson moving through the stages there pretty aggressively. Sha'Carri Richardson getting into her running in the latter stages.
On September 13th, 2025 in Tokyo, Japan, a 20-year-old Australian runner lines up in lane 8, surrounded by the fastest women on the planet. In just 11 seconds, she's about to make history. Torrie Lewis had a simple plan that night: run fast, break her own record, and show the world that Australia has a new sprint queen. What happened next? She did exactly that, and she made it look easy. Let's talk about what went down at the World Athletics Championships and why this young runner is about to become a household name, the third heat of the women's 100 meters. This wasn't just any race. Standing next to Tori were two of the biggest names in sprinting. On one side, Sha'Carri Richardson from the United States, the defending world champion. On the other, Shericka Jackson from Jamaica, who had won the world 200-meter title twice. These women don't lose often. And here's the thing: only the top 3 runners from each heat would move forward automatically. No second chances, no lucky breaks. You either run fast enough or you go home. Oh, and one more detail. The wind was blowing right into their faces at 0.8 meters per second. In track and field, that's called a headwind, and it slows you down. Tori exploded out of the blocks. Her start was so good that she actually had the 3rd fastest reaction time in the entire heat. She matched Richardson stride for stride in the opening meters. The American eventually pulled ahead, but Tori never gave up. She kept her speed, kept her form, and powered through to the finish line. She finished 3rd place in 11.08 seconds, a new Australian national record. The crowd went wild. Tori had just knocked 0.02 of a second off her previous record. That might not sound like much, but in sprinting, it's huge. 0.02 of a second is the difference between making the Olympics and watching from home.
You've had a bit of time to process it, but Australia's fastest ever woman, that is one impressive title.
Yeah, no, it's the best title you could have in this sport, really.
Richardson won the heat in 11.03 seconds. Jackson finished 2nd in 11.04. But all eyes were on the young Australian who had just announced herself to the world. After the race, Tori walked over to the reporters. She was smiling, but you could tell she was still catching her breath. And then she said something that showed just how confident she really is. She said, "I was super nervous for this competition because I knew in training that these are the times I can hit. Actually, this is the slowest time in my mind that I had, so hopefully I can build on that." She just broke the national record, and she's telling everyone she can go faster. That's not cockiness. That's confidence backed up by hard work. When asked what her fastest time in mind was, she smiled and said, "Can't give it away." When Tori first saw the heat draw and realized she was racing against Richardson and Jackson, she wasn't happy. She said, "I was like, thanks guys, giving me the hardest one." But then something changed. She realized this was actually a gift. "After I let it sit, I was very glad I had them because I can just run with them. Who cares if they beat me? They're the best in the world ever, so I just wanted to run as fast as I could with them and see how I go." That's the mindset of a champion right there. Instead of being scared, she used the competition to push herself harder. Torrie Lewis wasn't born in Australia. She was born on January 8, 2005 in Nottingham, England. Her dad has Jamaican and Indian heritage. Her mom is Scottish. When Tori was 6 years old, she and her mom moved to Newcastle, Australia, and that's where her athletic journey really began. Tori has celiac disease. That's a condition where your body can't handle gluten, which is found in bread, pasta, and a lot of other foods. If she eats the wrong thing, she gets sick. A lot of athletes would use that as an excuse. Tori never did. She and her family made sure it never stopped her from chasing her dreams. As a kid, Tori was actually a gymnast. She started at age 5 and was really good at it. But she also tried track and field when she was 8 just for fun. Even without any real coaching, she was so fast that she made it to state finals. People started noticing. When Tori was 11, she made a big decision. She quit gymnastics and focused only on running. She started training under a coach named Gerard Keating, and within 1 year, she was winning state and national titles. By the time she was 16, she ran the 100 meters in 11.33 seconds. That made her the 3rd fastest under 18 girl in the entire world that year. But it hasn't all been smooth. In 2022, Tori was supposed to compete at the World Under-20 Championships in Colombia. She was in the best shape of her life. Then, just 9 days before the competition, She tore her hamstring. She couldn't go. She had to sit at home and watch other runners compete instead. I felt I was in the fastest shape I had ever been in, she said later. You can hear the pain in those words. But Tori didn't quit. She recovered. She came back stronger. January 27, 2024, Canberra, Australia. Tori steps up to the starting line for a 100-meter race. When she crosses the finish line, the clock reads 11.10 seconds. That's a new Australian record, beating a mark that had stood for 10 years. The previous record holder, Melissa Breen, ran 11.11 seconds back in 2014. But Tori didn't just break the senior record. She also shattered the under-20 record, which had been held by a legend named Raylene Boyle since 1968. That's 56 years. Think about that. Boyle set that record at the Mexico City Olympics before most of our parents were even born. And Tori was just getting started. In March 2024, she helped the Australian women's 4x100-meter relay team set a new national record of 42.94 seconds at the Sydney Track Classic. That was 0.05 of a second faster than the old record, which had stood since the year 2000. Then in April, Tori made her debut on the Diamond League circuit. That's where all the best runners in the world compete. She was racing the 200 meters in Xiamen, China, and she was in lane 9, the outside lane. Nobody expected much. She won, and guess who she beat? Sha'Carri Richardson, the same woman who would later win the World Championship. Tori ran 22.96 seconds and beat Richardson by 0.03 of a second on her very first Diamond League race. The sprinting world was officially on notice. By the time the Paris Olympics came around in August, Tori was ready. She competed in the 200 meters and ran a personal best of 22.89 seconds in the heats. She made it to the semifinals. Not bad for someone who was still just 19 years old. She also ran on the 4x100-meter relay team. After the Olympics, she went to the World Under-20 Championships in Lima, Peru. There, she won the silver medal in the 200 meters with a time of 22.88 seconds, another personal best. And remember that relay team? They kept getting faster. In May, they lowered the national record to 42.83 seconds. Then in July, at the London Diamond League, they ran 42.48 seconds. That's not just an Australian record. That's an Oceanian record. No team from Australia, New Zealand, or any of the Pacific Islands had ever run faster. Torrie Lewis is just getting started, and the rest of the world better be ready, because she's coming for everything. National records, world medals, maybe even Olympic gold. She's already shown she can run with the best. Now, it's just a matter of time before she starts beating them. This 16-year-old just ran so fast that he broke a record that stood for 15 years. And now, Australia's biggest sprint star has some serious competition. His name is Ueo Lubenda. Last Friday at the Queensland State Championships, this teenager did something nobody expected. He ran 100 meters in just 10.35 seconds. To put that in perspective, that's faster than most Olympic athletes were running at his age. The previous record for 16-year-olds at this championship was 10.73 seconds. That record was set back in 2010 by a runner named Hugh Donovan. For 15 years, nobody could beat it. But Ueo didn't just beat it, he destroyed it by almost half a second. Before this race, Uezo's personal best was 10.42 seconds, so he just improved his own time and smashed a 15-year-old record all in one race. When the race started, Ueo exploded out of the blocks. He took the lead immediately and just kept pulling away from everyone else. By the time he crossed the finish line, he had a huge gap between him and the other runners. After the race, a former Olympic runner named Paul DiBella gave Ueo his gold medal. DiBella competed for Australia at the 2000 Sydney Olympics and the 2004 Athens Olympics, so getting a medal from someone like that made the moment even more special. When reporters asked Ueo how he felt, he said, "Man, I feel amazing. I was kind of hoping for a time like that, and I wasn't thinking too much about it, but I'm really grateful." He explained what was going through his mind during the race. I had to make sure I composed myself and thought about what I had to do. My coach told me to just get into it. Do what you'd normally be doing and don't change anything. That's about it. Everything went smoothly. Everything went according to plan. Now, if you follow sprinting, you've probably heard of another Australian teenager named Gout. He's been called the next Usain Bolt, and for good reason. At just 17 years old, Gout has already competed at the World Championships in Tokyo. He made it to the semifinals of the 200 meters, which is incredibly impressive for someone his age. Gout holds the Oceanian record for the 200 meters with a time of 20.02 seconds. He's broken multiple national records, and he even broke the 10-second barrier in the 100 meters twice in one day. Everyone in Australia knows who Gout is. So why does Uezo's run matter so much? Because when Gout was 16 years old, his best 100-meter time was 10.17 seconds. He ran that time last December at the National School Championships, just 3 weeks before he turned 17. Uezo just ran 10.35 seconds. That's only 0.18 seconds slower than what Gout ran at the same age. Both are from Queensland, Australia. Both are teenagers with incredible speed, and both are on very similar paths. Here's something else that shows just how fast Uezo is. His time of 10.35 seconds would have been fast enough to get past the first round at this year's World Championships. Think about that. A 16-year-old kid from Townsville just ran a time that could compete with adults at the biggest track meet in the world. So, who exactly is Ueo Lubenda? He was born in Mozambique in 2009. When he was just 4 years old, his family moved to Australia. That was back in 2013. Now, he's a Year 11 student at Calvary Christian College in Townsville, which is in northern Queensland. Last year, Uezo became the first 15-year-old in North Queensland history to run faster than 11 seconds in the 100 meters. He ran 10.80 seconds at the North Queensland Championships. People noticed him then, but he was still relatively unknown outside his local area. This weekend, Uezo is competing in the 200 meters at the same championship. His personal best in that race is 21.88 seconds. Then in December, he'll compete at the national championships. If he runs anywhere close to what he just did in the 100 meters, everyone in Australia will know his name. But Uezo isn't just thinking about the next few months. He's thinking about something much bigger. The 2032 Olympics. Those games are going to be held in Brisbane, Australia. That's his home country. And Uezo has his eyes locked on that goal. Last year, he told reporters, "My goal is 2032 Brisbane. I've got my eyes on that. I'll be 23 or 24, so I'll be in my prime as a sprinter." He also talked about how much he's improved. "It's inspiring me a lot to see that I've improved from the past. In the past, I wasn't the best, but I'm starting to have more confidence as I'm improving more. Last year, the races were close, but this year, I'm seeing a big difference. I'm waiting to improve more so I can be better next year." You can hear the confidence in his words, but it's not cockiness. It's the confidence of someone who knows they're getting better and has a clear goal in mind. And guess who else is targeting the 2032 Brisbane Olympics? Gout. So in 7 years, these two might be competing against each other on home soil in front of Australian fans. That's the kind of rivalry that makes the Olympics special. Gout has already made a big name for himself. He signed a major deal with Adidas, which gives him the money to travel and train without worrying about getting a part-time job. In an interview with GQ magazine, Gout said, "It was crazy. The number kept getting higher, and I realized how much these companies think I'm worth." He explained how important that sponsorship is. That sponsorship really helps you get to the next level because obviously you need the money to travel and to train, especially since I'm at school. So I don't need to go and find a job at Macca's or whatever to put fuel in my car. It definitely helps a lot. Gout has been smart with his money too. He said, "Long term, I'd like to set myself up and set my family up. I've saved a lot and I bought myself a new car when I got my PS, so that's probably the biggest purchase I've made so far. I haven't gone crazy." Gout's family moved to Australia from Sudan about 20 years ago. Now he's one of the most exciting young athletes in the country. And with Uezo emerging as another incredible talent, Australia suddenly has 2 teenage sprint sensations. There's even a third young Australian sprinter named Lachlan Kennedy who's also turning heads. The future of Australian sprinting looks brighter than it has in years. What makes Uezo's story even more interesting is how unknown he was just a few days ago. Most people had never heard of him, but one race changed everything. That's the beauty of track and field. One performance can put you on the map. When Gout was 14, he ran 10.57 seconds. At 15, he ran 10.50, 10.48, and 10.43. At 16, he ran 10.50, 10.48, and 10.43, 10.31, 10.29, and 10.17. You can see the steady improvement. He got faster every single year. Ueo is following a very similar pattern, and if he keeps improving at this rate, there's no telling how fast he could eventually run. The really interesting thing is that Ueo broke a record that even Gout didn't break. The Queensland State Championship record for 16-year-olds was 10.73 seconds. Gout never competed at that specific championship at that age, so the record stood. Until now. Both of these young men are being compared to Usain Bolt. That's a huge comparison. Bolt is the greatest sprinter of all time. He holds the world records in both the 100 meters and 200 meters. Those records have stood since 2009. Nobody has come close to breaking them. But when people see teenagers like Gout and Ueo running these kinds of times, they start to wonder, could one of them be the next person to challenge those records? It's way too early to say, but the talent is definitely there. The 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles are just 3 years away. Gout will be 20 years old. Ueo will be 19. Both will likely be competing at those games if they stay healthy and keep improving. Then 4 years later, they'll have the chance to compete in front of their home crowd in Brisbane. Australian track fans have something really special to look forward to. 2 homegrown sprint talents who could dominate on the world stage, and they're pushing each other to be better.
It's all about getting everything right. You know what I mean? It's never just easy. It's always easier when you're younger because I was there. I used to do great things when I was young, but...
Gout, the kid who runs faster than almost anyone his age, just told the world where he's racing next, and it's going to be massive. Gout is heading to the Commonwealth Games, and everyone needs to pay attention. So here's what happened. For a while, people thought Gout would skip the Commonwealth Games in 2026 because he wanted to focus on the World Junior Championships in America. Those championships happen in August, and Gout really wants to do something special there. He wants to copy what Usain Bolt did back in 2002 when Bolt won the under 2.0 title in the 200 meters, but now everything has changed. Gout's manager James Templeton just confirmed the big news. He said, "We are planning that Gout will be available to run at an event in Glasgow before going on to the World Juniors in Eugene." That means Gout is doing both competitions. He'll race at the Commonwealth Games first, then fly to America for the Junior Championships right after. This is huge for Australia. Petria Thomas is in charge of Australia's team at the Commonwealth Games, and she's super excited. She told reporters, "It's very exciting when our best athletes publicly announce their intention to be at the Games." She also said that while athletes still need to qualify officially, it's really great when the best people want to compete. Now let's talk about who Gout actually is, because this teenager is breaking records left and right. He's only 17 years old and still in high school. He lives in Ipswich, which is in Queensland, Australia. His parents are from South Sudan and moved to Australia back in 2005. So, Gout was born in Australia, and now he's becoming one of the fastest teenagers on the entire planet. Here's how fast Gout runs. His best time in the 200 meters is 20.02 seconds. He set that record in Czech Republic at a race called the Ostrava Golden Spike Meet.
Gout. Now he's got a target. Menya moving away from him. Morizzi in the headband. A battle between these two. And Gout working so hard to get to him. And he gets there. Gout takes it by a metre and moving away. 20.04.